Alright, so here we go, guys. This is going to be the first Officer Club Championship in 90 minutes, and here's the draw. Starting off, we have ComTruise versus BlueBlast, then Darkness versus Hui Hui, then Tiger versus J King, then Innocent Bubbles versus Charlin 1805. We're going to zip through all the games and get you all caught up in case you missed this 5.5, 6 hour tournament yesterday. Enjoy. Alright, game 1, BlueBlast versus ComTruise. BlueBlast playing his Germany, Japan control discard versus ComTruise playing Soviet, British sort of control, Spiring Research most likely. They exchange blows for a while until one card comes down and slams momentum into BlueBlast's favor, and here it comes, the Leopold. And after the Leopold drops, ComTruise loses a whole bunch of cards off the board because his hand's already full. He's never really able to recover, and in the end, BlueBlast will become victorious, leading the series 1-0. And here we go with game number 2 of ComTruise versus BlueBlast. And BlueBlast now switches over to his Soviet USA Ramp Spiring Research deck, while ComTruise appears to be coming out with Brit Air Aggro. I have a feeling the Brit Air Aggro is going to take over on this one. The Ramp Spiring is going to be too slow, and let's just skip through this and see how it plays out. And as suspected here, BlueBlast not really able to get anything going on the board at all, or ramp up fast enough to have his research take over, as ComTruise does his math carefully. He calculates lethal and executes with RAAF and puts BlueBlast down in this game. This series now tied at 1 apiece. And here we go with the final game between ComTruise and BlueBlast. They're all tied up at 1 apiece. ComTruise comes out with Jagro, and BlueBlast chooses to stay with his Soviet USA Ramp Spiring Research deck. Still pretty slow, and he's going against another aggro deck, so we'll see how this plays out. ComTruise ends up with a whole pile of 34th Infantry in his hand, which we know is looking for that 35th Mountain Rifles to trigger on the discard or the removal from his deck. So we'll see if he's lucky enough to proc that. Let's just fast forward a little bit here and see how these first few turns play out. And here we are now at turn 4. ComTruise pulls the Katusha. BlueBlast doing everything he can to control the tempo here, pushing up the 2-3s to try to get some healing. Katusha goes down, takes out the infantry. He's able to push up all his 34ths, drops the 4th 34th. He's got 4 34th infantry on the board, and he procs not one, but 2 35th Mountain Rifles, getting the Alpine effect, a 5-5 and a 6-6 on the board. You can tell from BlueBlast's reaction, he's not impressed. This is going to be just too much meat for him to deal with. Let's go ahead and fast forward through now the rest of this and see how it unfolds in this typical aggro fashion. And here we go, it was rounding into turn 7. BlueBlast is ramping, playing a few War Machines. He's got a massive board in front of him here with nothing, as he accepts his imminent fate with the It's Over emote sent over to ComTruise, as he drops the Type 93, finishes off with the 35th Mountain Rifles, a couple of hits from the 34th, a couple of blasts from the Katyushas on the support line, just way too much for the slow deck to handle, and it's over. And ComTruise takes down the first bracket, and with that, let's now jump over to the second match, which is Darkness versus Hui Hui. So here we go. Darkness is playing up against Hui Hui, and Darkness is bringing a flavor of Jagro. That is, let's call it a new Jagro with some of the breakthrough elements, as you just saw. The 2-2 going to the front line automatically from hand when he takes the front line. He's also got that Key 83 in hand, so he's really going for some of that early aggro plus mid-game sort of finishing fighter airplane approach. And Hui Hui's got a Brit Air deck going there with USA Ally, and he's also got, you can see, bolster the troops is in his hand there, so he's looking to get some of those probably big fighters out later on, where he'd be able to bolster the troops and get that huge buff in for the finish as well. So this game will probably turn out to be one of whoever can get the control of the board and the tempo first will probably win the game. So let's just take a look here and see how it plays out. Right, here we are turning around turn 7 to turn 8. Darkness looking like he had a very strong board, only 9 health left on Hui Hui's HQ, but out comes the Monty, pinning all his units, giving the card to Hui Hui, and slowing Darkness down on his finish. And as you can see, the RAFF doing 5 damage, bolster the troops on the Kitty Hawk, dealing out another 6 damage, bringing Darkness down to 9. Darkness still with a huge front, but coming off the pin, can't do a whole lot. This game just turned completely around on him. Hui Hui needs to deal out 9 more damage. He has lethal on board as it is, and here he goes with the finishing blows, and that is it for Darkness in this game. Jumping right into game 2, Darkness down 1 game, do or die in the best of 3 series. It looks like we got a bit of a Jagro mirror match here. Darkness brings his Jagro Japan-Germany deck back to the second game. Hui Hui brings in his Japan deck. Hui Hui running a little bit of a different Jagro here. He's got a USA ally, and we'll see he's also running Bolster the Troops in this deck. So he's really putting a lot of weight behind Bolster the Troops to give that extra buff to be able to get those finishes off. So let's just see how that plays out for him in this game here, as we will fast forward ahead and just see how this plays out. And here we go, rounding turn 3, and Darkness lays down the Kagoshima, trying to put a strong ambush unit on the board to take control nice and early, and hopefully be able to push that up. But no, Hui Hui, having all the answers, drops the half track and bounces that right back to his hand and says, nope, we're not having that today, Darkness. Find a different plan. Darkness comes out with the Mito, blitzes that to the front line, again trying to take full control. And then we'll have to see, I'm sure there'll be a bit of trading back and forth for a little bit. Let's see how the next few turns play out. And just as we saw in the last game, Darkness has taken the front line with a strong position. He's got 2 Mitos out there, blitzing out a 3rd Mito regiment. That's 6 damage just in burn, sitting out there on the front line. Super strong position, taking control of the game. It's really up to Hui Hui now to figure out how to turn this around. Hui Hui comes out with a Shiden with the ambush, and he bolsters the ranks on it. And I kept calling it bolster the troops, but it is bolster the ranks. And he hits for 14 damage in 1 turn, putting Darkness against the ropes again with only 7 credits. Darkness has to find a way to deal out 13 damage. Can he do it? I don't know. He goes to draw some cards. He gets the Type 93, which is definitely going to help. You can drop the Type 93 down, deal out 9 damage, but that will cost 4 credits, only leaving him with 2. He has Encirclement in hand. Can he use Encirclement to deal out the rest? Even with the burn damage, don't think he can pull this off. He's thinking, he's doing the math. You can see the frustration there as he's trying to calculate it. I think he's realized that he doesn't have what he needs, and that is it. Bolster the ranks wins the game again for Hui Hui, putting out Darkness 2-0 in the first round of the OCC. And that is BlueBlast and Darkness both eliminated in the first 2 rounds. Let's jump into the next round and see how that plays out. In the 3rd match of the tournament, we see J King facing Tiger. So again, we're longtime standing champions in the first round of the tournament, facing Tiger, who I don't know very well, but is a very good player, having made it this far. And now what we see is a Jagro mirror match. So again, this is going to come down to whoever can get the tempo first usually is going to win. And so we see J King running a similar style as Darkness was running. He's got the German ally, and with the 2/2s in there, which is the new breakthrough card. So as soon as he takes the front line, if that's in hand, it pops down onto the front line automatically, giving you a little extra pressure on that first turn right away. So a pretty good draw, and Tiger has an answer right away with the Bloody Sickle to take out the infantry, and because he's running with the Soviet ally, so he's probably looking for the 34th Infantry, 35th Mountain Rifle combination to get that guy procced out, the 5-5 proc out early in the game. And they're probably both running some of the mid to late Blitz aircraft, maybe the Hians or the Ki-83s, and the Shiden for the Fury ambush fighter. So these guys are probably going to trade for a couple of minutes and a couple of rounds here until someone gets full board control to be able to take over. So let's follow through this a little more quickly to see how it goes. That Signal Regiment's been doing work for J King. He's got Tiger down to 9 health, But he is facing a lot of pressure right now, front line and support line coming up strong with the mountain rifles sitting there as a 6.5 thanks to the Type 93. But J King can keep trading in with these burn units and getting a lot of damage to face between the Signal Regiment and the Mitos. And so here he's going to trade the Type 93 and push the Mito up to the front. So he's putting a lot of pressure on here. He's got him down to 7 health, but he does have to figure out how to deal with that 6.5. And the Signal Regiment is going to help, as every unit of his that gets killed is going to deal 1 damage to the enemy HQ. So he's really got to hope that he can keep pulling blitz units to just keep the front pressure on and let the Signal Regiment do its work, because it doesn't look like right now he's going to get much forward pressure to be able to actually attack the HQ directly at this point in time. And let's see what Tiger's going to do here. Using the Sendai makes light work of the Mito and just moves that 35th Mountain Rifles up to the front line. Now there's a big 6.5 plug in the line. J King's going to have to trade his whole hand into that. And even if he does that, that'll do 3 burn damage. He still has no way to get at the HQ to deal the extra 4. I believe earlier in the game he already used his desperate measures, so his only answer might be to come up with a bombing raid to help clear out the back line. So kill the Sendai with it maybe. But as it stands with what he has in his hand, he's just down to basically blitzing in, and I think we're going to see J King slowly lose control of this game. Even though having the enemy down to 6 health, it does not look good for J King at this stage. Wow, having him down to 3 health, but does he have any way to get in there and finish that off? And here we are now at turn 9. J King, having lost his Signal Regiment to the 3rd Raiding Brigade turns ago, is now finding himself in dire straits, really. He has not been able to find a way to get at the HQ to deal that last 3 damage, and 4 more damage coming at him right now. He's down to 12. The Key 83 is on the board, a Katyusha's on the board. J King's in a world of hurt here. It does not look good for him. For now, Tiger looking to trade out the couple of units that are there. J King just pulls his feigned retreat finally, and probably too little too late, as it looks like right now the enemy has lethal on board, and there's not a thing J King can do but sit back and watch as he loses this game and falls in the series 1-0. And here we go with game 2 for J King versus Tiger in the first round matches of the Officer Club Championship Season 20. J King has switched out to his USA ramp into Soviet Research Spiring deck, while it looks like Tiger is bringing out the tokens. This will be an interesting matchup. Tokens are somewhat aggro, a little bit slower than typical aggro because there's no blitz and it's infantry moving up slowly, but as we've seen in tournaments past, the tokens can tend to overwhelm the board rather quickly, 3 or 4 turns in. So really J King's going to need to get some tempo going pretty quickly here to control the tokens, while at the same time trying to ramp into his research. So we're going to go into a little blitz of our own here as we skip ahead a few turns just to watch as this board develops and to see how this game plays out for the early part of the game. So now sitting here at turn 5, J King's been doing a pretty good job of controlling tokens, keeping them off the board. That said, Tiger hasn't exactly had huge tempo with him yet, pulling off the big draws, but the P40 down dropped on the board. That should double the cost of the, plus 2 the operation cost of any new tokens that he puts out, so he's going to need to find a way to deal with that. And so we'll find out if he has an answer to that. That was really a crippling move to put onto tokens, because the 0 operation cost is such a big factor when it comes to moving tokens around and being able to push out the next row. So let's just see here if he'll be able to handle that P40 or not. And what's he do? Oh, he sends it back to hand. That's a great answer for now, that he's able to get a couple more tokens on the board. Pretty slow tempo for the tokens. That should play very favorably into J King's hand as he's able to kick off getting to aspiring, going in some research, and putting the P40 back on the board, threatening that operation cost against the tokens once more. So let's see if we can find an answer for that prior to being able to push out more tokens. Just needs to find a way to deal 3 damage. He does have a mass attack in hand, so if he gets another token down, that would be one possible solution. And I did see this game already, so hopefully that's not too much of a spoiler, but we are doing an express run here to give you the highlights. So he does drop 1 token down and eats the extra operation costs on the 1 so he can get the mass attack off. The P40's out of the way, and now he goes and drops a few more. He's got an interesting hand. There were 2 unities and a we can do it. 4 tokens on the board. If J King can't answer these tokens in a pretty short order, he could find himself in trouble as these get buffed up defensively and then offensively with the unities. Can start to get out of hand pretty quickly. So he gets the KV1 down, but it's short-lived as the Avengers able to make light work of that right away. And that eats up all of J King's 8 credits for that turn. Probably a good investment to get rid of that KV1 because it would be doing 2 damage on every card draw. And here comes the frontal assault, so starting to give these tokens some body. Giving them a little bit of weight to be able to throw around on the board. Needs to get past that guard so he can take care of the Avenger. Get rid of that bomber. Bombers are a very good adversary to tokens since they don't take damage back. Unity of strength makes light work of the guard. And now he should be able to go ahead and just kill that bomber. Another unity of the strength goes ahead, kills the bomber, pushes up more tokens. And remember that token was affected by the P40 earlier, so it's a 2 operation cost, and now passes the control back to J King. J King's going to draw and ramp with Workers Unite. Trade off 1 token here maybe with his guard. J King's a smart guy, he's doing the math, he knows he's in a lot of trouble here. It's at 6, 12, 14 damage, threatened on board there. He does have the guard though that will have to get passed through first. So here comes the Katusha. And now that we can do it, buffs all the defense, heals his HQ, and more reserves coming down on the board. And at least filling his hands as Price passes it back. Counter Strike takes care of 1 token, but now there's a 6-10 on the board. 8, 9 plus possibly 10 damage to face, threatening him right now. He's going to look through the research, try to find something. He gets the B1 flying bomb, he's able to destroy that big token right there. Good play. Very good play. It can save him some time here, or buy him some time. But here we are now at turn 11, and as we can see, if you can't keep tokens in check, they just keep coming and coming and coming. And here we are now, 7 tokens on board, and he's able to hit face for a few, and the mouse attack for the big finish, and that is it. J King is eliminated in the first round. So we can see how the draw has been taking shape here after the first 3 matches of the first round. BlueBlast, Darkness, and J King all eliminated. Probably some of the top 5 players in the world at this game all eliminated in the first round. The aggro archetype has really been dominating from what I could see so far. So let's jump into our last match of the first round, where we'll see Innocent Bubbles facing Charlin 1805. Alright, here we go. We got first game, Innocent Bubbles versus Charlin 1805. We got Charlin bringing the German discard deck, Germany-Japan combo, and we've got Innocent Bubbles bringing the Soviet USA ramp into Spiring Research deck. We've seen that deck a few times already, and it has not fared well against aggro. Let's see how it will hold up against discard control sort of archetype. Maybe it'll have a chance to do a little bit better as long as his key cards don't get discarded on him. He may have a shot here. So it's going to be a little bit slow of the game, I would say. We're going to have basically not much interaction with the board as the players go back and forth. One doing research and ramping while the other one's doing discarding and control. Well, Charlin decides to play the Neville down naked, not getting the one pin deployment effect. I guess just to get a unit on board as a proactive measure. Bubbles is dropping down a lot of the healing units there, just wants to put something down that will draw the attention of the attacks of Charlin away from his HQ, and as a side effect get the healing going on his HQ so that he has a little bit more buffer while he's doing his ramping and researching. Bubbles loses one research card to the wolf pack. The US military research is gone, so he comes right back with By the Sword to draw, so he gets 2-card draw for that. Innocent Bubbles getting lots of healing off of that infantry. He's at 25 health, so he does have a little bit of room. Or Charlin pulls another wolf pack off the top of his deck. Let's see if he's going to go and dole out some punishment with that. Well, instead he drops the 0, gets the ping off the 0 to finish off that infantry. And goes ahead and kills the other infantry with a bit of a value trade there off the Flampanzer. Bubbles going back into research. You got another US research from the first one, another Spiring, gives him the German research. So he's pushing the German research. Thinking he's going to want to probably get up to level 3 of that to pull off the U-boat. Bubbles is now going after the US military research. He's got a few research cards in his hand, and Charlin has the wolf pack in his hand, so he could go after, try to hit some of them. He wolf packs, he hits the Avenger. The Avenger, decent card, could have been able to deal with that 5/5 tank pretty easily, but I think he's probably more happy to lose the Avenger over his research. The big investment of credits goes into the research, so you don't want to see that get discarded. So there it is with the U-boat, and the U-boat's going to discard his Empire of his son, his other Empire. He loses an attack strike, and he is able to deal the destruction to the tank on board as well. U-boat is just such a powerful card. He does still have his Leopold, but losing the 2 Empires may not have been that big of a hit actually, given that the Empires, there's not big units on board for him to hit with on Bubble's side of the board, so you wouldn't really get much draw off it. Anyways, here he takes the autocannon instead of the plane. I think the plane would have been a much better pick. Would have dealt out a lot more damage, I think. But he thinks that he might get more out of the autocannon. So things are getting pretty exciting here as Innocent Bubbles expands his US research to level 3 and goes ahead and launches another War Bonds, ramping up another 2 credits, sitting at 14 credits and having the 3rd level of research in hand. He only has 2 cards in hand, so you know he's sweating right now about any more discard. He knows both wolf packs are gone, so probably only Annihilation is maybe what he's thinking about that could cause another discard. Oh, here we go. Oh, he pulls the Tractor Factories. What's he going to do here, though? Oh, he goes for research. He knows he's got time, so he expands his US research, which means we are now seeing, for the first time ever in the Officers Club, nuclear weapons threatening the game. Will Innocent Bubbles be the first player in KARDS history to deploy nuclear warfare? Poor Charlin knows what's coming. He knows on the next turn, if he can't finish it here, he's getting nuked. And here it comes. Manhattan Project is deployed. First ever nuclear bomb on the cards game table. The animation's awesome and wipes the board completely, deals 10 damage to the HQ. And Charlin cannot deal out 12 damage here, and he knows that's GG, so he's just going to drop out a bunch of units for stats, achievements or something, and ping face here with 0. Can't really do attack strikes himself. And he knows, just surrender now so you don't have to live through another nuclear disaster. GG, Charlin drops the first game. And here we go, game 2 of Innocent Bubbles versus Charlin. So they basically flip nations here. We got Innocent Bubbles playing Germany now, and Charlin is pulling out his Soviet deck. He makes a switch after losing the first game, thinking he might have some better luck with his Soviet deck. This will be a slow game, given that the guys are both playing control style decks, slower tempo decks. There's no aggro going on here, so we're going to fast forward a little bit here and jump through the early stages of the game and see how this plays out. And we jump ahead to turn 5, and Bubbles gets the Key 100 Goshikin down on curve, which is a massive play. Getting that down on curve, that 6-4 fighter that is basically immune to damage on your own turn, just trades for free until your opponent can deal with it. So let's see what Charlin has here in store to try to deal with that 6-4 fighter. That thing is just a beast. Yeah, he just goes with Workers Unite, so that's, well, his whole turn gone there. But he ramps up, gets some extra credits, so I guess he knows he's got to lose 1 unit to the fighter, I guess, and then try to deal with that on the next turn. Still don't really see anything in his hand that can deal with that. He's got a hammer in there that only deals with ground units. It's one weakness of the hammer is it's good cheap cost with big damage, but only the ground units. Throws down the engineers. That will give him some healing at least when he does get killed. So he pulls out a carpet bombing. And that ramp is proving to be very useful from the last turn. The Workers Unite is now giving him enough credits. If he wants to sickle and carpet bomb, he can get rid of that plane. And that's exactly what he's going to do. You know that thing's got to go. There's no other way to get rid of it. If you don't have the units to attack it, you have to use orders. Just to double down on the orders and use up his whole turn. Only clears the fighter, leaving the guard and the flank hands are healthy. Now these guys will exchange blows for the next few turns. As we jump ahead to turn 12, we now see that Charlin has seemingly taken an extremely strong position on the board here, having units on board. Innocent Bubbles is down to 8 health. We'll have to see how Innocent Bubbles responds to this. Plays down the Panzer H looking for a card, pulls off the Tiger, drops the Tiger 7-7, just going huge here, trying to put down the big threats. Charlin top decks a KV1, that's 4 draws and Innocent Bubbles is dead, so that's a huge pull. Opt in the Bloody Sickle, try to draw a card to see if he could find something to deal with that Tiger. And the Tiger can't be targeted by orders, so he's really got to find something to be able to kill it by attacking. Going to go with the research, the German research, and then just hit face and keep putting the pressure on. Now Bubbles is going to be able to start just removing his units off the board, removing Charlin's units off the board, I think. Try to take control of the board and hopefully hang on to his 5 health. And Bubbles looking for more cards. Gets the Admiral Hipper, sends the Yak 3 back to his hand instead of killing it. And moves up. And Charlin pulls the armored train, so we can slow things down a little bit here. And every time he loses a unit, he's gaining 2 health as the engineers are still on the board. He's got 34 health already. Chooses to guard the KV1 instead of the HQ, hoping that the card draw will crush Innocent Bubbles into defeat. Innocent Bubbles empires that KV1 to get rid of it. Good play. And Bubbles hanging on by a thread with his 3 health here. 36 to 3 health wise. Bubbles got a lot of work to do here. I don't know, Bubbles is going with the draw denial. Charlin down to his last card in hand. Is a significant card. He can do a lot of work with that, but not enough to be able to kill the Tiger. Bubbles finally able to deal with the Engineers, so no more healing for Charlin. Charlin goes and grabs a U-boat. Kills off the 5/5 tank. Discards the Leopold, Empire, and a Comet. Wow. So the big card's gone for Innocent Bubbles, but still 40 to 3 HP here. This is definitely looking like it should be Charlin's game, and I mean, Bubbles just got a lot of work to do here. Charlin not pulling up big cards though to deal with that Tiger, so that's going to be a problem for him. I mean, the honey is not quite going to cut it. Does 0 damage against the Tiger. Well, Bubbles starting to push up. He's got artillery in the back line, which is just huge for clearing units, while he just now chips away at that huge health. And pulling a Bloody Sickle, not great, but hey, at least he can do some damage and draw another card. Pulls a Carpet Bombing, that's pretty significant. Clears the whole board except for the Tiger. Chipping away at that Tiger. I mean, really, if you can get rid of that Tiger, I mean, they could probably turn this board around now. Oh, Takasagi, so if he has any cards in hand, he's going to lose them if he can actually get to it. But that guard on the 3 health that's left, I don't know if he has any way to get at it. Critical hit is useless because the Tiger can't be targeted by orders. Charlin is running out of time. 9 more damage on board from Innocent Bubbles. He's got the Careless Talk in hand to be able to just kill any low level unit that gets put out. Wow. Bubbles plays this amazingly, hangs on by a thread for a very long time, and looks like he pulls out the win. And that will bring us to the end of the quarterfinals, where we'll see next round ComTruise facing off against Hui Hui and Tiger facing off against Innocent Bubbles. Alright, jumping ahead into the first semifinal match, we see ComTruise matched up against Hui Hui, and we see the ComTruise bringing his Soviet British Spy Ring research deck versus Hui Hui bringing his Germany British control discard deck. So as is with these style of decks, this is going to play out for a little while. These makes for a bit longer games, no aggro involved here. So these guys are going to trade blows for a bit while we see who's going to generate tempo first to be able to take control of the game. ComTruise getting that KV1 down early. That could be a devastating card if you can't deal with it. Obviously with every card draw is going to deal 2 damage. So Hui Hui is going to have to look for a solution quickly just to prevent a lot of damage from happening to his HQ. And ComTruise looking like he's going to drop the 83rd Naval Brigade, which will take care of that tank in the front line with the heavy armor. And it'll also put a guard around that KV1. Pushing the ICYMI up to the front line. Here we are at turn 9, and again, ComTruise looking like he's having a strong position in the game. He's up 32 to 11 health on HQs, dropping big units down, 6 airborne going down by the looks of it, and just having full control of the board. No Ural Factory in hand though to be able to save the tank from destruction. Hui Hui pushing up strong with the big tanks now, putting some pressure back onto ComTruise. And dealing with the engineers, so the healing is over. This could be the turning point. ComTruise now pushing the front line with everything that he's got. He's got to get past those Highlanders, so the 4-8 is a big body to try to deal with, and he doesn't really have much power on board right now. Carpet bombing could help, maybe in the next turn. That deals 3 damage, and that combined with the infantry in the front line, he'd be able to clear the guard. Almost trades off everything he has though. Ooh, carpet bomb comes at him. That's going to wipe out a lot of his potential threats. Now he doesn't really have any way to clear that Highlander. Goes for the advanced research, so now he's got the Manhattan Project in his hand, so that'll get past the Highlander pretty nicely. Looks like ComTruise is on the verge of delivering the second nuclear blast in the KARDS tournament. And there we have it. The nuclear blast will end the game. ComTruise takes the lead in the series 1-0. Here we go, game 2 of ComTruise versus Hui Hui. ComTruise now pulls out his Brit Air deck, and Hui Hui switches to his British control deck after losing round 1. So ComTruise with a really good start here, getting a couple of the 1-drops down with the Swordfish and the Gladiator. Close air support already on turn 3, dealing out 4 damage. That's just a huge, nice, aggressive start for Brit Air. It's exactly what you want. So Hui Hui delivers out the Kitty Hawk. It hits face with the 2 damage. It has to be a ground unit, ground target for the Kitty Hawk, but it blocks the bomber from hitting face at least, because the fighter will protect that whole front with the from the bomber. Another close air support down on the Gladiator, and he trades out the Kitty Hawk and hits face with the bomber. So still chipping away. Already on turn 4 has delivered 8 damage to the HQ. Air aggro is just doing its job. Hui Hui trying to find a solution here to try to catch up. Plays out an Empire naked without any bombers on board. Deals 1 damage to everything, but I guess he didn't really have any other options. Oh, and right here, ComTruise plays down the Hurricane. Instead of calculating lethal, he totally misses lethal here. He could have buffed the Gladiator using Burst of Fire to give it +1 attack, and Fury would have made it a 4 with Fury doing 8 damage, plus the close air support would have made it a 6 and did 12 damage exactly and had lethal. He just missed it. That could potentially cost him the game. Now everything's pinned down, so he just plays out the buffs. He does have some removals, and hopefully now he'll be able to get an attack out to be able to finish the game. Having missed lethal once already, you're hoping that you still get the chance to finish. Nothing worse than losing a game after missing lethal. Hui Hui sends out the Empire Strikes again. This time he has the Swordfish on board, so that's 2 damage across the board. And a close air support comes out, and now he's able to get rid of the Fury. Hurricane is off the board, and now ComTruise is able to deal 3 damage here. His buffs that he has in hand only apply to a fighter, so he can't apply that to a Swordfish at this point. He needs to put that down on the Hurricane, hopefully on the next turn. Ooh. Hui Hui able to use a deployment effect there to deal out the 3 damage and get rid of the Hurricane and protect that line with the fighter, so the Swordfish can't attack. Now he's got to trade out his Swordfish, and he's only left with the 2 orders in hand. Again, ComTruise has his opponent down to 3 health. He just needs to find a way to finish. And Hui Hui, in a smart play here, bolsters the ranks on the Pioneer, makes it a 410 infantry with a 0 op cost, leaves it there on the support line, drops a Highlander down, drops his own Fury plane down with another Hurricane on his side of the board. Air superiority is able to deal with the plane, but I don't know if he's going to have any answers for these infantry on the board. And ComTruise needs to top deck something very useful here. It gets a convoy so he can draw 2 more cards. Probably too little too late here as he gets what's that, the Key 83 along with, the Key 100, sorry, and he gets an HMS Illustrious, so he can fill the support line. He has the, that doesn't do much for him because he can't attack with it. He's just playing out the order for the heck of it. And that will be the game. ComTruise, again, with full board control early in the game, doesn't have a way to hang on, loses control, and ends up dropping the game, and we are tied at 1 apiece. Alright, and here we go into the third game of ComTruise versus Hui Hui. We got Jagro versus German discard, and then Jagro is going to be looking for his 34th with the Soviet ally to try to proc the 35th Mountain Engineers. He doesn't get any to start off the game, and so he'll just be looking to get fast tempo and try to kill Hui Hui's HQ before he can start discarding his hand around that turn 4, turn 5. And hopefully he can pull it off, but if not, he will be in a lot of trouble because Jagro does tend to run out of gas. Not sure if he's running Famed Retreat here or not. And with the British ally on Hui Hui's side, he's able to get the Albacore down and destroy a unit. And ComTruise comes straight out with the Raiding Brigade to kill the bomber. Not enough credits yet to blitz to the front, but he deals with the bomber effectively, which Jagro requires. You have to kill bombers and artillery pretty fast and make sure they're not impacting you, since they don't take damage back. When they attack, you need them gone. Alright, so there's a 34th Infantry. He's going to drop that down. He's going to have his fingers crossed for some RNG luck to pull that 35th Mountain Engineer. It doesn't come. He loses another 34th, so reducing his chances of trying to find that 35th Mountain Rifles to proc. Ooh, and Root Out the Enemy comes and wipes the board out, and this is where things start to go south. He's already pulled the 35th Mountain Rifles into his hand, which means he's not going to be able to proc it. He's going to have to play it out of hand. And on turn 6, ComTruise is able to get the Key 83 down, but unfortunately Hui Hui does have the answer, as he's able to respawn almost immediately, playing out the Sky Barons to destroy the Key 83. ComTruise just not able to find any tempo, as this becomes a bit of a turning point in the game where he's just not able to get any control of the board against this strong Germany discard deck. And Hui Hui on turn 7 here is going to go and trade out to kill the Mito. He's going to Wolfpack ComTruise, who only has the Scheiden and the mortar, the mountain rifles in his hand, and he saves the Scheiden. Luckily, he's able to come down and blitz out, bringing Hui Hui down to 8 health. So once again, ComTruise looking like he has such a strong game in front of him, but he is way out on card advantage. Sky Barons making light work of the Scheiden, and now that he's just top decking against this huge discard deck, he just has no more answers and will slowly fall to Hui Hui, who will advance to the finals. We're jumping right into our last semifinal match, Innocent Bubbles versus Tiger. And here we go with Tiger playing Japan aggro, looking for that 35th proc. And we have Bubbles playing his Soviet USA ramp Skyring research deck. So Tiger's going to need to get things going really quickly here. If he can get things snapping off real fast, he should be able to kill Innocent Bubbles long before he gets any momentum going with his research. But Bubbles does have 2 Katyushas sitting there, which is pretty convenient to help the deal. And it procs, of course, on this first one here, killing the first 34th. And so now he's got another Katyusha coming down, plus the one on board, so he'll be able to deal the other Katyusha. Tiger dropping the Kagoshima down, which is pretty good because Soviet likes to heal. That'll block any healing. So Bubbles doesn't bother playing his engineer at this point. No point playing it when it's not going to be able to heal. And he doesn't really have any units threatening to die here. So he'll need 1 Katyusha to proc against that Kagoshima to be able to kill it. I don't see any encirclements in hand for Tiger. He's playing a Soviet ally, so we won't have to worry about anything like that. He has a Katyusha of his own. He drops. His doesn't proc, unfortunately, so let's see if Bubbles gets lucky here. Oh, he's got the hammer in hand anyway, so he just hammers it. And doesn't need the proc. He's got both Katyushas ready to kill that other one. So Bubbles is controlling the tempo here. Hasn't been able to do any research yet, but controlling the tempo. Hopefully for him, he'll be able to start ramping soon, but with that aircraft down, the 6.5 ambush, that's hefty aircraft he's going to have to deal with. He decides to go wide with a bunch of units that will give him some healing, and gets to have his first Katyusha proc against the, I think that's the Key 100. This game's taking longer to get anything going for Tiger than he would like. You know, when you're running aggro, you definitely want to be starting to hit face by now. You want to have units on the board. There's a lot of things you want to have going on that are just not happening here for him. So he does just go straight face with the fighter, doesn't care about the units, trying to get as much damage in as he can. Of course, Bubbles responds by playing the train down, so now he's got a guard on his HQ. So the plane can't hit the HQ, but it can, of course, attack the train, but will not be able to kill it straight up due to the heavy armor. Tiger's able to drop another Sendai and deal with the train that way. Puts down it for the Emperor and trades off the infantry in the front line and is able to hit face for another 7, really putting the pressure on Bubbles here to find an answer for that plane. Drops the Type 93. Should have probably played that before he attacked. He would have got the 8 attack instead of 7, so a bit of a misplay there by Tiger. Of course, the double draw that plane gives the opponent just gave Bubbles the Naval Brigade, so in the next turn, if he's still alive, he'll be able to go ahead and kill that plane just by deploying the Naval Brigade on the deployment effect. Another 7 face against Bubbles. He's now at 7 health. Luckily, that engineer is keeping him alive right now, with every unit getting killed, giving him 2 health healing. I'm pretty sure he will instantly drop that Naval Brigade as soon as the turn becomes his. Tiger getting lots of draw with his Japanese unit in the front line, triggering Rising Sun. He could kill the plane just with the Katusha. That's a good option as well. A different sequence of events, but I think achieved the exact same thing. Now he's got 2 guards on the support line. There'll be no room for the light infantry to come across with the train, but that's fine. He's got a nice Katusha smacked in the middle there. So there's Tiger trying to reestablish some board dominance, putting down the Katusha, the mountain rifles, blitzing the infantry to the front. Of course, Bubbles now has the Night Witches in hand, so he'll be able to go ahead and get a From the People and a using the From the People to kill the Katusha, take care of that. Trades off the front line with the Naval Brigade and gets to do War Bonds, bringing him up to 14 credits, plus he'll draw 2 cards in the next turn. Hey, Tiger putting some heavy infantry on the board now. He's got a J Division down there, 2 35th Mountain Rifles. Bubbles is going to go straight into the research here. He's got the German research. Takes a V1 flying bomb. That allows him to take out the Type 93, which reduces the attack and allows him to trade off on the front line. Huge bombing rate there, followed up after a hammer to clear the line of innocent Bubbles, leaving him only with the bomber. Unfortunately, couldn't kill the bomber, which is too bad. I think the bomber should have been a priority target. So the bomber's able to deal the damage necessary to allow the tracker factory's tanks to come in and kill it and move up with the other tank to take the front line again. So looks like after 15 minutes of exchanging blows, Innocent Bubbles is able to take control in the end and come out with the victory of the first game of the match. And here we go with game number 2 of the last semi-final match between Innocent Bubbles and Tiger. We got a Jagro mirror match running here. And in typical Jagro fashion, these guys are just going to go at each other hard and fast. Nothing too exciting happens in this game. It's a typical mirror match. And in the end, Innocent Bubbles is able to put on all the pressure and come out victorious and win the semifinal and earning his place in the OCC Season 20 Championship match versus Hui Hui. Let's jump into that match now. And here we go, the final match for the Season 20 Officer Club Championship. Innocent Bubbles versus Hui Hui. Innocent Bubbles starts off with his Germany discard deck. And Hui Hui starts off with his British Air. Ooh, the Flampanzer is necessary. Quick answer to the Swordfish that get deployed on turn 1 or 2 there. So Bubbles gets the countermeasures going, and he's got the plane down that will give him a card draw if his countermeasures get activated. Puts a nice dent in the Highlander Guard. Ooh, gets ultra'd on the wolf pack. Hey, Bubbles gets his other wolf pack in hand. See how he does here. He's gonna drop the hornies. Nope. Switches, goes Nebulfer. Nope. Switches, goes research. Nope. Switches, goes back to the hornies. Here we go. Nope. Switches. Bubbles pretty undecisive here. And he ends up dropping the hornies down. Ooh, the HMS Illustrious gets dropped. Lots of power, air power. Ooh, the Empire Strike's gonna do some board clear. He's able to take care of the whole board of Bubbles there with the Empire Strikes and the HMS Illustrious. Gives you a bit of a mini carpet bomb when you do that. And then Bubbles goes with his other wolf pack, gets rid of the Surrey Regiment. Plays Root. Hui Hui with mobilization, could be some huge card draw. Gets another guard down. Bubbles getting close on the research, probably going to go after the U-boat. Empire here gets rid of the Highland guards and gets a nice 4-card draw off of it. Two bolsters in the hand of Hui Hui could prove to be lethal. Ooh, Hui gets a Hurricane down with a Fury 3/3 and he bolsters it. So now it's a Fury 5/5 and it's got Finest Hour with Blitz. Now it's a Fury 7/7 and that's going to do 14 damage. 15 total, leaving Bubbles with 1 health on his HQ. Can Bubbles come out of this? Leopold, probably the only answer he has. Will it be enough? Hui Hui bounces the Leopold back into Innocent Bubbles' hand with the RAF. Bubbles discarding and milling his deck now as his hand is full. What's Bubbles going to do here? Does he just play the Leopold down again? Gonna Hipper? I don't think the Hipper will do it. Guard up, but that bomber gets past the guard. He needs to put the guard down. If he's going to do that, he better have a fighter to protect from the bomber. I mean, he could just go into a bounce war here, playing the Leopold back. Alright, so he Flampanzer. He's able to deal with the Swordfish. He put down a guard that would block the RAF from being able to hit, the RAF. And goes with the Nebulfer and from the deep. So anything that gets deployed is now going to get destroyed. He's hanging on. He's got full health on Hui Hui's HQ to still bring down though, so I don't think Bubbles is going to be able to pull out of this with a win, but he's holding on for now, doing everything he can. One thing Business Bubbles really good at is looking for the best possible play on every turn, regardless of the game situation, and just take it one turn at a time. The shelling, so that's going to pin everything down. He just needs to be able to clear that guard, which the Mosquito will do now. From the deep will kill it, but the deployment effect is done. So now Bubbles is going to have to clear the board again. Maybe back to Leopold. And then puts down the Arado just to go wide. Any blitz units at all for Hui Hui would end the game right now. The HQ is exposed. The RAF is back in his hand, so he can definitely bounce again. But no, he's got the Monty, so we will pin it all down. Go to the draw. Oh, he picks up Finest Hour, I believe that is. Which I believe gives Blitz, does it not? And there we go, the +2/+2 and Blitz, and that will end the game. Valiant effort by Bubbles. Going on to game 2. And here we go, game number 2. So Innocent Bubbles decides to switch it up a bit, goes to his Soviet USA ramp research deck, while Hui Hui now is onto his German-British sort of control-y deck. And so both decks play kind of slow, so we should have an opportunity to see both players try to set up their strategies. And whoever's able to get that off the soonest will be the one who wins, I would imagine. So Bubbles just leading off with the typical Soviet move there with the 2-3 infantry. Get healing early on. He gets Fog of Ward. So now he's got 2 of those on his deck. So his next 2 draws are going to be predictable. Goes with playing the 2-3 down and a couple Bloody Sickles. Lets him mill through his deck to get back to his regular card draw. After the Fog of War, put 2 copies on his deck of the 2-3. Ooh, the Black Watch comes out right on curve. All orders in Innocent Bubbles' hand +2, and he had about 5 orders in his hand. That was a huge hit. So he goes with the Royal Research. Expands that up, looking for Bletchley Park down the road, I imagine. That hammer now costs 5. Those card draws cost 6. They're breakthrough cards. I don't remember the names of them all, but that 6 cost orange one, I believe that's the draw for the number of enemy units on the field. Hits it with the hammer, hits with the infantry onto the Whirlwind, doing 2 damage. Takes some healing. Whirlwind's still alive though. 1 more credit, he can Bloody Sickle that. Hui Hui going for some draw. Drops another Whirlwind down. Hits face instead of pushing it up. And now we got, Bubbles can Bloody Sickle the Whirlwind, or he can Katusha out with it. Goes with the Sickle. Pulls a Workers Unite off the Sickle. Could be handy a little while, considering he needs to ramp up. At least the strategy of his deck is to ramp up. Katusha's at the Whirlwind. Does proc, so he gets the 2 damage. Nice little bonus there. Hui Hui going out with the Panther. Card denial. No draw for Bubbles here. So he's going to go and expand his Royal Research. Gets Synthetic Rubber going. Huge buff on the Katusha. Pushes up his infantry. It's a good play. Clears the 5-5 tank out. The Admiral Hipper goes, sends the Katusha back to his hand. Loses a credit, loses a card draw, loses the Synthetic Rubber buff. Very, very valuable Hipper there. Good value on it. He comes out Workers Unite now. Draws 2. Alright, started to get into the late game for both decks. So I would think Innocent Bubbles has a stronger late game, but I think with the control cards that Hui Hui has, he just might be able to keep Bubbles at bay here. Coming out with the Sky Barons to deal the B17, then an MI5 to get a draw and put a halt to Bubbles' draws. He just top decks the card that got put on top of his deck. He's able to drop the KV1. He parades into a double Cossacks. I think really what's that Black Watch earlier in the game is really causing Bubbles problems with his credit curve. He hasn't been able to ramp as much as he wanted to. His Warbonds got hit, so it's now a 7-cost Warbonds. The Tiger dropped down on the board, so now he's got to deal with that big Tiger somehow. Cossacks is not going to cut it. He doesn't have an Avenger in hand. Bubbles is in a tough spot here, just not getting the cards he needs. By the Sword is the name of the card, so he's going to play that. He'll draw 3. It's a double Spy Ring and a War Machine. I don't think that's what he was looking for. And he's up to 14 credits now. Make that 15 credits. But he's really in a tough spot here. You gotta deal with that Tiger. KV1 doing a little bit of work there. 2 damage on the card draw for Hui Hui. But that Tiger is just going to outpace that KV1, that's for sure. 7 damage to face right there. And then Hui Hui kicks in his German Research. Goes for the V1 Flying Bomb. Takes care of the Katusha, leaves the KV1 there. He's not worried about the KV1. 6 credit by the Sword. for Bubbles. He's really looking for an Avenger, I think. And he just doesn't get it. The card draw is not in Bubbles' favor right now. You can get some healing down from that Engineer. For every unit that he loses, he could heal 2. Sickles the Bomber. I'm not sure why he wouldn't chip away the... Well, the Tiger can't be targeted by enemy orders, but he could have chipped away the guard just the same. I'm not sure if hitting the Bomber was a high value target. I'm chipping away at the guard here, trading in his double caustics he got from the parade. So Bubbles in trouble now. The KP1's still doing work, but he's already got 7, 8, 9 face on board from Hui Hui, getting Bubbles down to 8 health. This game was all but over. Kriegsmarine coming in, puts him down to 1, and the Bomber finishes off, and that's it.
Alright, here we go. Game 3. Minnesota Bubbles is down 2-0 in this championship bout for the Officers Club Championship Season 20. And Bubbles sticks into Game 3 with his Soviet USA Ramp Spy-Ring Research deck. And it looks like Hui Hui is now on his Japanese deck. Is this like an aggro deck with some Empires in it? So it must be a bit of a aggro with a bit of mid-range. Let's take a look through here and see what he's going to have. Starting off with a huge push early. This is not going to bode well for Bubbles. I mean, when you got a slow deck like Ramp and you're going against an aggro style deck, you're just going to be in trouble. Fighting tooth and nail just to keep the enemy pushed back. A hammer in hand is convenient, but it does cost 3. Honorable Death coming down on the Katusha. It gives him a draw, which gives him another hammer. So he's got a double hammer there, but he won't be able to deal with 1 unit at a time. He can From the People and Heroes of the Soviet Union and From the People probably here. Oh, he decides to take the pass, Workers Unite, he ramps, draws 2 cards. So he's going to take at least 3 in the face. Not a horrible decision. Your HQ is a little resource you can use to absorb. But with the 6-5 fighter going down, the hammers are bricks because they only work against ground units. The Naval Brigade's a nice draw. He just needs to be able to deal some damage out. Oh, he's going to take a lot of damage in the face here. He does damage to the plane so he can Naval Brigade it next turn, but he's about to take 9 more damage in the face. Draws 2 cards because of the plane. Doesn't get anything overly useful. He'll be able to deploy the Naval Brigade and kill 1 infantry unit, and he'll have an ambush guard down, which will help slow things down. There's no burn units on the board yet, so he's not going to be getting face damage from burn. So there we go. Takes care of the fighter. That's great. Bloody Sickle takes care of 1 infantry, and the ambush on the Naval Brigade as it stands will take a couple of units to trade into. He doesn't have anything really that can kill it at this point from Hui Hui, so the Sendai makes light work. Innocent Bubbles in huge trouble here, down to 3 health against this aggro deck. Doesn't really have any answers here. He can hammers a Sendai, which is nice, gets his guard back. Cossacks comes in, kills his own unit there with the hammer so he can heal 2. The ambush will cover those 2 units in the front line. You won't be able to trade off, so unless Hui Hui has something to remove the guard, Bubbles has done well in buying himself some more time, but it does not look good for Bubbles at this stage. Playing with cards like War Bond sacrifices tempo so that you can have more resources later, but another Sendai comes out, the Naval Brigade is off the board again. Bubbles does not have any good answers in his hand right now. Of course, the front line only deals 2 damage, so he doesn't have lethal threatening him right now. He also can't kill anything. He gives him trades. He gets 2 B-17s. He's going to do 3 B-17s at this point. Charlin in the U.S. military research. That's a depth charges. Gives a HQ with smoke screen. Gains a credit slot. Buys himself 1 turn in any case. Takasagi, and I think there's an Osaka in his hand as well, and Hui Hui's hand, 2 Takasagis. The Bubbles can deal with the 2 frontline units right now with Tractor Factories. We'll give card draw to Hui Hui, of course. We've got Empire sitting in Hui Hui's hand, and card draw is not an issue for him right now. Bubbles gonna blow the hurt here. His hand is just costing way too much, and he hasn't been able to ramp very effectively. 3D17s and Avenger, and 2 War Bonds, a KB1 and Tractor Factories. Nothing in this answers this Lord of the problem right now. We'll take it 1 turn at a time here. Here's the 2 infantry. And Hui Hui can push up the 2 pocket sizes now. And those will not be able to cover it. And he's got Charlin in his hand anyways, and that will be the end of it. A new champion, Hui Hui.